What is happening, guys? My name is Jamie. Today we're reviewing AC/DC Akka fucking Daka and the album Power Up. Now, after a few tumultuous years with the death of Malcolm Young, we weren't too sure whether AC/DC was going to create another album. But surprise, surprise, through the pandemic of 2020, we get an album called Power Up. It's a long way to the shop if you want a sausage roll, that's for sure. I was quite excited listening to this album, but unfortunately, this album didn't gravitate towards me. Their sound is tired, so the production on the other hand is actually pretty good. I love the tone of the snare, and I really love Angus's guitar work on this album. Brian Johnson's vocals are quite dynamic in range at times, especially when he uses those really low vocals. Some of his vocal tones really shocked me. Although his vocals can get quite not monotonous, he's still got the signature heart of the AC/DC sound. And his vocals on this album are pretty good, and a lot of people will get tiresome of his vocals, but I do love how he switches his vocals now and again. Tone of Angus's guitar, as always, is absolutely fantastic. Really love the rhythmic sections. It's a pretty well balanced mix, this album. So what did I think about this album? I thought this album was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't magnificent. It wasn't the best AC/DC album I ever heard. It may be slightly better than the previous album, Rock or Bust. I think it might be the best album probably since Black Ice, because Rock or Bust was a very hit and miss album. But this album, they seem to follow a cohesive formula. It's a very formulaic album, but of course they do experiment at times, especially through songs like Realize and Demon Fire. There are a few songs that really grabbed my attention, they really did, and it's not all bad, this album. There are quite a lot of fillers. It's very formulaic at times. So when you listen to AC/DC, you are expecting to hear sort of the same old sounds now and again, because all AC/DC stuff kind of sound the same, especially the guitarist, monotonous riffs now and again, and even the solos. So let's talk about Realize, which isn't a very good song to kick off the album. I actually didn't enjoy that song. It was pretty disappointing. It just sounded like a generic AC/DC song. Then a song that really grabbed me was Rejection. I love how Brian Johnson's vocals are very gritty in tone and the bass is quite prominent. There's some really nice guitar riffs throughout this song, and I just love the overall chord progression. It's quite a catchy chorus as well, and I do love the harmonic overlays throughout this chorus. Really good harmonization. Angus rips into the guitar solo. Overall, Rejection is actually a really good song by AC/DC, and it's slightly different, with the overall chord progression really enhancing the song into a different dimension. So another song that sorta is catchy is Shot in the Dark. There's a nice groove to the song and I really do enjoy it. The vocals are quite good. Johnson's vocals are yet distinctive but yet gritty. At times this song does sound like a generic AC/DC song, but it seems like they've pushed this song into the modern time. This is what AC/DC would fucking sound like in 2020. Vocal harmonization throughout Shot in the Dark, throughout the verses and choruses. There's a really nice build up to the solo, which I actually really enjoy, and it's just an okay song in my opinion. Another song that really grabbed me by surprise was Kick You Down. Brian Johnson's vocals really kick in at the start of the song, and I just love the overall reverb throughout the introduction. Again, there's a really nice groove to the song. What I love about AC/DC is they have some really solid grooves and some really solid riffs. But unfortunately, these riffs can get monotonous and quite boring. But lucky for this, Kick You Down isn't a boring song. It's got a catchy chorus, Kick You Down, along with nice guitar licks and intricate guitar moments. It's a much more technical song on this AC/DC album. Again, AC/DC are pretty good at building solos, which I love. But what I love also is how they really intensify the song with them repeating the chorus, Angus shredding in the background, which I really did enjoy. So overall, it's a pretty good song. One song that absolutely took me by surprise was Demon Fire. Demon Fire is probably one of my favorite AC/DC songs. I gotta admit, it's probably one of my 8 favorite AC/DC songs because I think this is an awesome song. It really is. Interesting intro. I love the intro on this with Brian Johnson's vocals so damn low. So I love it. You got great intentions. Groove-based oriented song. Also the guitar melody by Angus and the riffages as well. I love how there's an anthemic chorus throughout Demon's Fire and there's some really nice chord progression. But there is a quick solo that builds up by Angus. but it's quite energetic and it's slightly technical as well. Demon Fire is actually a pretty good song. And there's only 2 songs that really grabbed my attention. We're talking about Wild Reputation. Really love Cliff Williams' prominent bass throughout this song. What I also like about this album, how the bass is quite prominent within the mix. So every single instrumental, Steve Young's rhythmic guitar work, you can really hear within the mix, and which I love. In Wild Reputation, the bass is quite prominent, which I really love, and I love how, again, there's a nice groove to the song. It's not bad. This song isn't bad. At times there are some repetitive riffs, but I still like the overall tone of the song. And again, there's a really nice solo. I just love Brian Johnson's vocals on this particular song. He has some really dynamic vocals on this song, just like Demon Fire, where he has this really low voice tone, which I love, that bursts onto that leading chorus. But finally, the last song that I really liked was Code Red. I just really like the overall guitar licks. Riffs are quite infectious. The vocals are pretty good. There is also some really nice melody, and I just love how, again, Cliff's bass work is quite prominent. Chorus is quite melodic. You just can't help singing Code Red. There's a really nice solo to end off the album, and overall it's a pretty good song. That's where the album ends for the positivities. For the negatives, you all know it's very formulaic. At times the songs sound the same, at times the songs blend into each other, and at times they produce the same old melodies and riffs over and over again. Like Through the Mist of Time, Witch's Spell, No Man's Land, Systems Down, and even Money Shot. They all sound the same in my opinion, just at times different tempos, and that's about it. What can I say about this album is that Power Up is probably the best album probably since Black Ice. So for AC/DC Power Up, I'll probably give this a 5 out of 10. It's a good album, a good rock and roll album. It's an average album by AC/DC. It's not a classic like High Voltage, Highway to Hell, or even Back in Black. It's just an average AC/DC album, and I feel that a lot of people are sort of overhyping it just because they're fucking AC/DC. You can give or take this review. I know I'm not going to have a lot of friends with this review, but that's my opinion. Comment below if you enjoyed this album. Keep discussion going in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one.